Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Skagly Bones, back with another video for you today. And this time, we're going to be doing a long-term review of the ISM Adamo saddle, as you can see right here. So first, let's go to the website, because there is a little bit more than just the road saddle, as you see here, that I've been using for the past year. There's quite a few of the ISM saddles, as you can see from the back there. ISM, that's the actual company name. ISM. This is called the Road Saddle Full Gel. This is the one I got. This is the chromoly. As you can see, chromoly rails. You can get these in, they have steel, chromoly, and titanium rails that they make their saddles in. I'm going to quickly show you the website, ISM's website, and that way you can see where you can get these from. You can also get them on Amazon and a number of different places. So here we go. This is the website. Let me zoom in there for you so you can actually see it. So if you type in www.ismseat.com and you go to their page, and of course I've clicked on all products. So starting up here at the top, you can see they have quite a bit of saddles. They're all very similar. They have the open cutout in the front, every single one of their saddles. As you can see here, they have everything. If you click on each saddle, you can actually see what they look like from the side, not just from the top. So as you can see here, this is an attack saddle. This is a road racing saddle. Specifically, this is not intended for time trial use. It'll also tell you commonly used for, well, it is, some people will use them for time trial, but it's mostly for road bikes. So road bikes, triathlon, time trial, you can use them for. So you can actually view the pictures of what this saddle is going to look like. Different colors, what it's going to look like from the side. So as you can see here, this has quite a bit longer nose than mine. So you have Adamo saddles, you have ISM Adamo saddles. They'll very specifically say Adamo, as you can see right there. They're writing Adamo on them. They have some other ones. Oops, sorry, clicked on that. They have other things like this saddle Berkeley. They have some more comfort saddles, so that they're a little bit wider back here, and you're sitting, but on the saddle you're actually just sitting on this portion right here. Your back end wouldn't be any farther back than this portion right here. So you're just sitting on the front of the saddle. If we go down here, they also have these PNs, PN, PR, this new line that they've gone with, PS. Of course, here, these, this is the road saddle that I have. It's at the time when I purchased this, I paid $150 for it. And it was on the website, it was $189, but a lot of times at certain retailers you might be able to find them for about $40–50 cheaper. So like the $250 saddle, so they were having like the attack saddle that was up at the top, it was like $220. This racing saddle was $189, I believe. But I went with this because that was the least expensive that the store had. And the nice thing is about Adamo saddles is once you use one of them, depending on what you want to do, you can pretty much switch to any of the other type of saddles. Okay. Okay, so back over here to the saddle itself. So kind of give you a little bit of a profile view, as you can see here. And this is what they would call more of a triathlete saddle. It has the triathlete hook in the back. Of course, I have my saddlebag on here, which I'll pull off for you really quick. if I can get it off. There we go. Now, normally these aren't meant to have a saddlebag on them. I'm not saying you can't have a saddlebag on it. There you go. Saddlebag is off. I still have the clip here. But the whole point of this would be that I would lift this up and I would use this. Normally, you see road bikes, they have this, the front end sticks out farther, and they sit them up on these. When getting a race, ready to race, they used to sit the front end up on a bar. They'd have these bars for the triathletes, and when they'd come in from their run, they normally come in from their run or go from their ride to their run, they'd all sit their bikes on these racks, and the racks would just be it would be a bar. And so this makes it so that you can hook it right on the edge of that bar. You don't have to hook it on the front. The back portion of the saddle is normally the strongest. The nice thing about these, if you notice, this has a kind of a drop point here, comes down here, and kind of keeps your legs from rubbing in here, your thighs, which I kind of like. Some people don't like this, but in some of your more road bike style saddles that ISM makes, this portion is cut off, and then this portion's cut off, and then the nose will come out a little bit farther, not much, but maybe a half an inch to an inch farther. Now on this saddle, on all the Adamo saddles, or all the ISM saddles for that matter, they tell you when you're fitting the saddle and you're setting up the saddle that from here back should be seen when you're sitting on the saddle, so that your back side will be like this, and you should be able to read most of the writing back here. You should be able to read this road portion. So they say that you should be able to see that. As you can see right here where I've been sitting, this is worn right in here really. The Adamo portion right here is really worn. This not so much. I mean, you can see some spots where I've moved back and forth on the saddle, but you can really see where it's worn right in this area, because that's where kind of I sit on it. Now, many times I will move forward a little bit more on this, but the nice thing about this saddle, that if you're sitting like this, this portion barely comes through past your, it does not actually come to the groin area, completely to the groin area. Even if I was to sit fully on the saddle all the way back here, this wouldn't fully come to my groin area. So it's nice, you're not actually putting pressure on any of your more tender regions in your groin and stuff, so you don't get any soft tissue damage. This puts all the pressure on your sit bones, and some people are like, but I'm heavier, I have a lot of fat in that area and stuff. It doesn't matter, you still want the least amount of soft tissue damage. It also prevents your bottom from going to sleep. Your gluteus maximus, you know, all those muscles, the last thing you want is for those to be going to sleep while you're actually riding. Okay, so like I said, this has the chromoly rails. Now, if I would have gone to the next model up, there's the next model up that had titanium rails and had a little less padding. These ISM, on their website, they show padding numbers all the way up from 60 all the way down to 10, and 10 being the least amount of padding, 60 being the highest, and most of those are for comfort bikes and for bikes. So you can kind of feel the padding here. Now, even though this is, and this saddle here is a 40, I believe it's either 30 or 40 in padding level, even though this is a kind of in the mid-range, it's still, and they don't have a lot of, they have like 10s, 15s, and then they jumped almost up to 30. Most of the time they don't have a lot of 20s, 30s and 40s. So even though this is kind of in the middle as far as padding wise, it's not the hardest, it's not the softest. Most of the gel padding in the ISM saddles is still pretty stiff. So if you're a dedicated racer, you don't have to worry about sitting on this thing and being just some soft, fluffy riding saddle. They do have some real heavy gel saddles for people who are To be more exact, they have some of their mountain bike saddles. You want a little bit more padding on them. Also, a lot of the police bike saddles, where you have police officers who ride in police bikes in sandy areas, and they're sitting a lot on their bikes all day long. And they want a more padded saddle. So what they've done is they'll take and they'll short this up. They'll make it a little wider. It looks more like a touring saddle. They also have commuting saddles, things like that. So people that have not really, you want a thinner saddle, not as heavy of a saddle, but you don't want some big soft cushiony saddle. See, a lot of people, what happens is they're uncomfortable on their saddle, on their bike, and they get some big cushioning saddle, and that actually doesn't help you ride longer distances. So what this is doing is, you can see this has a very huge cutout, and then the front portions where the cutout is, this is pretty heavy duty material, and the chromoly rails, as you can see, they come up almost, there we go, good focus, yeah. They come up all the way to the front here, and then they come up here, supports back here, hit back here halfway through to almost to where you're going to be sitting. So the nice point is that when you're sitting on this thing, you're not, as you can see here, I'm putting pressure on it, and I'm not really pushing the saddle down. A lot of saddles in this price range, in the $100, $130, $40 range, a lot of them start to sag after a while. They just don't hold very well. The saddle that I had on this bike was a San Marco, and it was probably no more than a $60, $70 saddle. The saddle that would have come with this bike was San Marco. And I did ride it for a while, and then it just started to sag quite a bit and just became uncomfortable. It had a cutout in it. It was fine, but the front portion was pushing up into my groin. And it was a shorter saddle too, but it still came out to here. So it just was not very comfortable for me. So I had seen these before. I thought they were strictly triathlon use only, but I was talking to one of the guys at Bike Beat in Virginia, and he recommended this saddle. I tried it out. He even said, listen, if you don't like the saddle, you bring it back and I will buy it from you personally. So it does take about a week with the ISM saddles. It takes a week to become for your muscles, the muscle and the tissue that is on the outside of the sit bone, to be accustomed to sitting on this saddle, because in reality 99% of all people aren't actually fully sitting on their sit bones properly. And most saddles don't allow you to sit on your sit bones properly. And there are a few saddles out there that do that, and then you see pros, they sit very far forward on their saddles. That will accommodate to sit on your sit bones a little bit better. So they will acclimate to these saddles probably a little bit more. The person who's riding all the time, if you're a little bit more slender. But I'm a pretty heavy dude, pretty heavy person, and this saddle has just been absolutely tremendous. At first I thought about, after I started riding this, I almost thought about going out and buying a couple of them. So I had a couple of them just because I'm a bigger guy, and I thought I'd be destroying the saddle. When I got to Guam, one bike shop that's here, they do sell ISM saddles, so I can get them through them, and they're the same price as when I got this one in the States. But the nice thing is with this saddle, this is really withstood so far this last year, and I put a lot of miles on this bike. So I have right now almost 8,000 miles on this saddle alone that I've put, because I don't think I probably put more than 300 or 400 miles on my previous saddle before I started to before I decided to switch, because it was just an inexpensive saddle, nothing fancy dancy. I still have it. Possibly when it gets here, I have a couple other saddles that I've purchased, different types of saddles to try out, and possibly when it gets here I'll show you what that looks like to give you an idea. But this is the saddle I most highly recommend to anybody out there, and simply because ISM makes a saddle for everybody. A saddle is a preference. Everybody fits different saddles differently, but ISM literally has a saddle for everyone. Now the only problem that I find is that it's kind of hard to get into a store to try one of these saddles, as far as not all stores have them. A lot of them will have one or two models of the saddles. They're not going to have all the models. So probably the best thing to do is to look online, find a dealer that carries them, carries a good number of them, and try them out. Fortunately, with the bike beat that I went to, they had 3 or 4 different types of models. They had strictly the road bike saddle that was the more streamlined, a little bit longer on the front end, and I tried that out. It set a little too far I would have had to sit a little more far forward than even this one. I liked this very small seat. I didn't want to go something that was extremely small either, and I didn't want something. For me, the padding was good with this one. I didn't want something more padded. I didn't really want something less padded, because this is still pretty, as you can see, it's still a pretty stiff saddle. Even though this is one of the more padded ones, it's still pretty stiff. So I think probably next time I might get another one, put it on another seat post, and just kind of have it marked, and then use it for some more aggressive riding. But I might get one of the attack saddles that's got the titanium rails, and it's a little bit longer here, and this is cut off here, and then it juts down in the nose a little bit. It doesn't have this piece in the back, so I might possibly go to something like that. And like I said, ISM is always constantly updating their saddles. They're always looking at new things to make them slightly more comfortable, more durable. But like I said, these are phenomenal saddles. I've ridden this in all kinds of weather, all kinds of nasty weather, and this just really takes a lot of abuse. I've sprayed water on the inside of it and let them drip dry, and it does great. So these are really made to take a lot of abuse. And being in here in Guam, we got a lot of salt water and stuff, and it really hasn't done anything to the saddles as far as that's concerned. All this wear and tear pretty much occurred when I was in Guam, or sorry, when I was still in Virginia. So a lot of this is from Virginia. I haven't really seen any difference in the saddle, how it looks and performs, since I've been here in Guam. And I put a lot of miles on this since I've been in Guam here. So folks, that's it for me. That's the long-term review of the ISM Adamo road saddle, excuse me. And hopefully you enjoyed this video. Like I said, if you have any questions or concerns, leave them in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Make sure you click the subscribe button and share this video as well. That helps us to keep new videos and keep everything going. That's it for me, folks. This is Skag the Bones. You guys have a great day. Keep riding.